The radar operator's hands trembled as he stared at the glowing screen in the dimly lit command center. It was 3:27 a.m. and something was terribly wrong. An unidentified fighter jet had just crossed into restricted airspace over the Pacific, moving at impossible speeds toward a classified military installation. General Marcus Hayes stood behind him, his weathered face tight with concern. "Scramble our interceptors now," he ordered, his voice cutting through the tense silence like a blade. Within minutes, 2 F-18s roared into the night sky, their pilots ready to engage what everyone assumed was an enemy aircraft on a suicide mission. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. The situation escalated rapidly as the mysterious jet ignored all radio warnings and continued its aggressive approach. Captain Sarah Chen, leading the interception team, felt her heart pound against her chest as she locked onto the target. "Unknown aircraft, you are in violation of sovereign airspace. Alter your course immediately or we will be forced to engage," she transmitted, her finger hovering near the weapons system. Static crackled back at her, then nothing. The jet continued forward, weaving through the darkness like a phantom. General Hayes gave the order that no commander wants to give. If it doesn't turn back in 60 seconds, take it down. Sarah's wingman, Lieutenant Davis, voiced what they were all thinking. "General, something feels off about this. The flight pattern, it's erratic, like the pilot's injured or the controls are damaged. But protocols were protocols, and an unidentified aircraft this close to a nuclear facility couldn't be allowed any closer." Sarah armed her missiles, her training overriding the doubt creeping into her mind. 30 seconds remained. 20. The mysterious jet suddenly banked hard right, then left, its movements desperate and uncoordinated. "I'm taking the shot," Sarah announced, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. Just as her finger began to squeeze the trigger, a voice exploded through her headset, panicked, urgent, and unmistakably American. "Mayday, mayday. This is Colonel James Reeves, call sign Phantom 7. My communication system is destroyed. I repeat, I am friendly." "Do not fire!" Sarah's blood ran cold. She immediately pulled back, her missile unarmed at the last possible second. "Abort, abort," she shouted to Davis. The command center erupted in chaos as intelligence officers frantically pulled up records. Colonel James Reeves had been reported missing in action 3 days earlier during a covert operation deep behind enemy lines. His jet had been shot down, and everyone assumed he was either captured or dead. General Hayes grabbed the microphone, his voice urgent. "Phantom 7, this is command. Confirm your identity. What was your mother's maiden name?" There was a painful pause filled with static and the sound of labored breathing. "Morrison, sir." "Elizabeth Morrison. And I really hope that's the right answer because I'm running on fumes and I've got about 2 minutes before this bird drops out of the sky." Relief washed through the command center, but it was short-lived. Reeves's jet was critically damaged, losing altitude fast, and he was still 50 miles from the nearest runway. The fuel gauge was reading empty, and warning lights filled his cockpit like a Christmas tree. Sarah pulled her fighter alongside the damaged aircraft and gasped at what she saw. Bullet holes riddled the fuselage. One wing was barely attached and smoke trailed from the engine. How Reeves had kept this aircraft flying for 3 days across hostile territory and open ocean was beyond comprehension. "Colonel, you need to eject now," she urged. But Reeves's response was firm despite his exhaustion. "Negative, Captain. This jet contains classified technology. If I eject and it crashes into the ocean, it could fall into enemy hands. I'm bringing her home or dying with her." General Hayes knew the stakes, that aircraft held targeting systems and encryption, codes that could compromise national security for years. The next 12 minutes became the longest of everyone's lives. Sarah talked Reeves through every adjustment, becoming his eyes when his instruments failed, his co-pilot when his strength faltered. "Stay with me, Colonel. You've come too far to quit now," she said, her voice a lifeline in his darkness. Reeves fought the controls as the coastline finally appeared, his arms screaming in pain, his vision blurring. At 2:41 a.m., his landing gear deployed, partially. One wheel refused to lock. The tower cleared every runway and emergency vehicles raced into position. Fire trucks lined the tarmac, their crews ready for the worst. Reeves brought the crippled jet down with one landing gear collapsed, sparks flying as metal scraped against concrete. The aircraft skidded sideways, spinning once, twice, before finally shuddering to a stop just yards from the runway's edge. Foam trucks immediately surrounded the smoking wreckage as emergency crews pulled open the canopy. Colonel James Reeves, barely conscious but alive, smiled weakly. "Sorry I'm late for debriefing, sir," he muttered before medics rushed him away. General Hayes stood on the tarmac watching dawn break over the horizon, knowing that what everyone had written off as a failed mission had just become one of the most incredible survival stories in military history. Intelligence had nearly made a fatal mistake, but they'd realized just in time who was really flying that jet.